welcome to the Master Your Moment podcast. I'm Leslie, guiding you into physical, mental, and emotional wellness. And today I have Amy Herzog with me from Spark Joy with Amy. And we've had some conversations where she is on Instagram just rocking it. She makes these amazing reels that I absolutely love. So you'll definitely have to check that out. Welcome, Amy, to the podcast. I'm so glad you're here.
I am so honored. It's such a joy to chat with you and share with your audience today. Thank you.
So, Amy, can you tell me a little bit about yourself and what your journey is with Spark Joy with Amy?
Yeah, so thank you. I would I try to nutshell this as much as I can. So I've taught for 25 years in different capacities, but with young children from 1.5 to 12 for the most part, and primarily in the elementary school system. When my son was turning 18, our finances were going to change. And we'd been subsidized by Social Security because we had lost his dad 7 years ago. So when when that was going to change, I needed to make more money, and my job was capped. So I went out on a limb and started private tutoring. In this journey of private tutoring over the last couple of years, I've actually tutored the whole time for 25 years with just a thread of that. But this during quarantine, I went all in with tutoring privately. Then I did a hybrid with the school and tutoring, and now I do it full time. And as I'm able to work with kids outside of the system, at their level, at their pace, at their style of learning, I've just seen wonders happen in these children's lives, not only in what they're learning, but in their affect and how they feel about learning and their love of learning. So that is what has sparked joy with Amy, is seeing the sparkle in these kids' eyes as they learned through play. And it's just my joy to bring it and share that message so that more kids can experience that. That's my hope.
Yeah, that is awesome. So, are you working primarily with students on sparking their joy, or are you primarily working with parents?
So thank you. That is a transition I'm making. I do work in person with students, and then I'm taking that information and what I do to share it with others. The homeschooling movement is on the rise, and I think it is a fantastic opportunity to share with people how to work one-on-one or one to small ratios with children to really get to individualize um, their lessons and figure out what their interests are and how they learn best and be able to tailor it to them. So what I'm doing is building a coaching package and some courses so that I can help share my expertise in teaching and teaching through play with homeschool parents.
That is amazing because I know that there's so many parents out there that really want to homeschool their children. I mean, I'm kind of one of them as well. Eventually, when I can get into that place, but they may not have that education or that expertise or that background in education, but they still want to provide their child with the benefits that could happen through homeschooling. Um, can you tell me a little bit about sort of what inspired you to focus in on tutoring students and going through that process? I know financially you needed to have another backup, but what else do you feel like has inspired you in like continuing this and even incorporating parents into this?
All along, since the very inception of my career, I saw that teaching through a manual was getting glossy-eyed students. And so I've always had immediately just pivoted towards play and trying to impact them in ways that would be engaging for them. So throughout my career, I've always incorporated play. However, getting to be outside of the classroom lets me do this to the maximum extent, and I absolutely adore it. Um, as I was considering how to bring this into more kids' lives, and I wanted to have an audience that would be available to hear what I'm saying and to put these things into practice. Um, this could absolutely be used for teachers, new and seasoned. It could be used for with tutors. But what I my concern there is that teachers and tutors, they are, well, particularly teachers, they are so consumed by what they are instructed to teach,
Mhm.
and A, don't have a lot of time, and B, they have to teach what the mandates are from their administration. So homeschool parents are perfect for this, as they get to be far more adaptable and
Yeah.
flexible with how they teach and when they teach it.
Right. And I know teachers, they have these certain standards, and then, oh, the school says, "Oh, well, we're going to purchase this program for you to use." And it may not necessarily fit or align with what how the teacher best teaches, or how the teacher can best serve the students. And honestly, every classroom is going to be made up of so many unique students that a
Mhm.
one size fits all approach doesn't necessarily work, right?
Right. Right. Absolutely. And teachers all worldwide have that rub of what they know is right or what they know is best practice, how that they know that, like, Johnny doesn't have it yet, but they've got to move on because they have these pacing guides and they've got to get through all of this in a certain amount of time. And so I really feel that I live that. I
Yeah.
know the rub of wanting to do the best for your students, and yet having to just do what's been assigned to you.
Yeah, I've actually been seeing some new ads pop up on my Facebook feed that's talking about micro schooling. Have you ever heard of micro schooling?
That's a new term for me. Tell me a little bit.
Yeah. Okay, so it's basically like a homeschooling, but you have more like of a one room house school, or like it's sort of like basically
A
homeschooling
little
in
bit.
one room, but you have all ages in it. So you're talking maybe 15 kids, and it's considered micro schooling because you're just creating a very small school that you can kind of homeschool and have those same kind of dynamics like that, which I
I
think is
love that. I love that.
really, really cool.
Yeah. That inter-age is really great. They can help each other out and have different skills that they share with each other. They all contribute to the process. And the way that I teach play-based methods is having one template can be used for so many different things. So it works perfectly for something like that. You don't have to make 10 different lessons. You can have the same one with 10 different uh, objectives.
Right. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So you can use the same kind of play-based way of doing it, but using sort of different objectives for each kid. They're gonna
Yeah, exactly.
go with it a little bit differently. Um,
Yeah, I love
what experience do you feel like you had that shaped your approach to wanting to do a play-based type of learning?
Yeah, as I said earlier, just right from the get-go, I was given scripted curriculum. And when I was first teaching, it was open court and Saxon math. And I was given, my school did something called um, core knowledge curriculum. And so open court was extremely scripted, and they threw everything in there, like lots of good content, but it was so much you really literally couldn't get through it all and have 6-year-olds sitting there and
Yeah.
paying attention. So so just that reading off of the kids, like this is not working. And to have math that was just scripted, like say this, then say this, and the kids will say this. Like we are not robots, right?
Right. Yeah.
Um, so immediately just finding like, okay, I need to sing more in my class. I need to have games. I need to have activities. I need to get their hands on things. Um, so
It's
that
sort
is
of your
where,
maybe your natural instinct to like, okay, these are things that kids enjoy, right? The singing, the games. And so that was sort of your natural inclination to do that.
yeah, yeah,
I
absolutely.
actually have my specialist degree in play therapy. So I have
Yay.
a background. Yes, I have this background of play. And I don't know if you know this or realize this. It must have just been very intuitive for you. But play is how kids speak. That's how they communicate, is through their play. And
Yes.
and what better way to learn than through how you communicate best? So
Absolutely.
that's what I think
I would
that's
say that
really,
too.
really awesome.
It's how they learn, but it's also like you just that point of communication. It's also how you socially connect. Like you're playing a game and they're telling you what's going on in their lives. It just comes up naturally, not probing or asking questions. It's all of a sudden they want to tell you about, having a play date with their friend this weekend, or they're going on a trip, or something happened with Sally, and it's a really nice way of connecting with them relationally as well.
I think so too. That's really, really good. So can you describe, I mean, you described it a little bit about play-based learning. Can you give me an example of an activity that would be a play-based learning activity that you've done with some of your students?
Absolutely. I have so many, and
I
definitely check out
know.
Instagram. There's so many. It's fun. One of the things that I put together a tutorial just to show a really simple game template is hopscotch. So if you drew out a hopscotch board, and let's say you have winter and you don't go outside, you could put this on a yoga mat with some tape and chalk. It's all versatile. But I can teach letters. I can put letters on there that we're practicing. I can put contractions. I might say did, not didn't, is, not isn't. And as they hop, they're saying the two words and the word that it makes, two words and the word that it makes. We can do, oh, I have a whole list of things. Of course, nothing comes to mind, but you can do math facts. You can do tricky teens if you're working on that. Vocabulary. I do a lot of word families, rhyming words, things like that. So it's the same hopscotch, but you just put in different things that you're practicing with that. I've been doing a lot of work with fluency lately. I have some students that are struggling readers. Um, they're actually capable readers. They can decode, but they have a hard time when they see a lot of words on the page. It overwhelms their senses and they just kind of shut down. So, chunking things into games. Sometimes I'll write just a sentence on index cards. And there's a couple of things I do with this. One of my favorites is called Zonk. You write a sentence on each card and assign it some points. They're just random. I sort of make them a little higher if they're a harder sentence and a little
Mhm.
less, but 2, 3, 5 points. Fold it up, put it in a bag, and put also two cards that say Zonk in there. So you get to pull from the bag, read the sentence, get the points, start adding those up. And you can keep going as long as you want. You can keep your turn going. But if you get a zonk, you lose your points from that
Oh,
round.
wow.
So
Okay.
it's a risk, right? And but just from that round. So then if I say, okay, I got 5 points, I'm going to bank them. Then I put them in the bank. I cannot lose them. And then the next person gets their turn. So that's a fun when they're practicing. They're practicing reading. They're doing it in small chunks. It's gamified and they love it. I also love to add coins. So if I have points in a game, I make it
Mhm.
coins, and then they're practicing uh, the names of coins, the values of coins, trading coins, counting on. So you get this extra math practice snuck in there, and that's
Oh
really
my
fun. Kids
gosh.
love money. They love it. So it's
That is
another fun.
amazing. My child is currently struggling with money. He's in second grade and he has a terrible working memory, so he can't hold the information in his mind. But I bet if we gamified it in some form or fashion, like I had considered, you know, using the money, like he really loves his plushies, and
Uh-huh.
making his plushies worth a certain amount, and I'm going to take them away and he has to pay me back for them, or but
Yeah.
I'll need to come up with a gamer system related to
Oh,
that.
you can do a
But
store for him. Grab some
uh-huh,
of his toys and do a store. That's a really great way. And he can be the purchaser, or he can be the clerk selling it to you. So either
right.
way, he has to tell you how much it costs, or here's my coins, and
Mhm.
have him count. And also you could put I have these rubber mats, but you can just do it with index cards. I try to do everything simply, but if I don't know if it's names or counting, but you could draw little pictures of coins, play
Mhm.
musical dots. So he's running around on the dots on the floor or on the index cards, put some music on. When it freezes, he stops and has to tell what amount of money is on that one that he landed on, and then he
Yeah.
gets that much money. So there's lots of fun ways to play.
That is awesome because I'm really gonna have to work on that this summer with him for
I
sure.
got your back.
Um, are there any like principles or overlying features to a play-based approach that you are teaching parents about to help guide?
Yeah, absolutely. So when we need to know what to teach, and oftentimes homeschool parents have already done all the research and they found the curriculum that they want to teach. So the content is typically there. I have a couple of things that I like to say about that. One is take the pacing at your child's pace. So just because Sally Sue over here is 5 leagues ahead of your child at the same age, it
Mhm.
doesn't matter. Your child knows what your child knows. And so just embrace what they know and what is presenting right now. So stay with them as long as it takes. It takes as long as it takes. And that's the opportunity of the homeschool to not have to rush. So that's one thing. So now, if you take where your child is at, you've assessed that they, for example, let's say they know their letter names and their letter sounds. Now we're going to start to blend those. We're going to do 2 letters at, and learn how to blend those. Once they can do 2, we're going to do 3, those short vowel CVC words, we call them
Mhm.
consonant, vowel, consonant, right? So we're going to practice that. So what I like to do is I like to find a decodable book that just practices that. One of my favorites is Bob books. I love them because they just specify one particular skill at a time before building onto the next one. And so what I do is I find, so let's say the first is short A. That's a nice, easy sound typically for kids to do. And so I read through the book myself. They're very short little sentences, and I see all the words that have the short A. Before I give them the book, I take all of those words and I put those into play. And we play games. We can do fishing games. We can do hopscotch. We can do zonk, like all of
Mhm.
bingo, tic tac toe. Play, play, play with those until that your child has mastery in that. Once they've mastered those words, now you can either work at the sentence level, play games at the sentence level, or maybe they're ready and you can give them the book. These are pretty little books, so you short
Right.
passages, so they might be ready for it. And then when your child knows the words and sees it in the book and can read it, whoa, they are readers, and you're celebrating all along. Even at the word level, wow, you're reading. Wow, you're reading. And now we're reading a book. Wow, you're reading a book. And so
Right.
part of that process is stay where they're at, launch the game, and keep just paying attention. You're noticing, oh, she's got it. She got it. Or no, not yet. Let's keep playing. Let's keep playing.
Yeah.
Once you've assessed and you played and played and they master it, always celebrating all along the way. Like, wow, look what you can do.
Yeah. I love that because it's really about um chunking it down into smaller sections,
Mhm.
like playing the games with something so that they feel mastery in it before you sort of give an assessment or give them a test of, okay, like I know that you've mastered this. So now we're going to do something that seems harder to do or may not be quite as fun, but you're going to be able to do it because you've mastered the skill through play.
Right. Yes. And I would say keep building. I mean, as you build and you stretch them a little bit more, you're still doing it through play. So continue. I even do assessments through play. So I will take a sheet of paper and I'll say, how can we do this through play? I need to know if you know your letters. Okay, I have alphabet blocks. Let's build alphabet blocks together. And I'm informally assessing them, like, are they saying the letter? Do they know how to put them in order? Do they know the sound? And so assessing can be play also. It doesn't have to be grueling testing.
Yes, I know. Or have them sit down and do a worksheet over and over again. Like my
Yeah,
child gets a
yeah.
stack of worksheets in his folder every day that's this thick. And I'm like, my child
Yeah.
doesn't learn through worksheets.
That's a really important statement you just made, and I would just want to highlight it. Child doesn't
Yes,
learn through worksheets. Now, some kids do. Some kids love worksheets. I have a kid that
right.
loves it. He
That's
really
why I said it.
motivated by the
My child does it.
Exactly, and other kids can't stand them. I had one child, there was never ever going to be a worksheet in our practice. It was all kinesthetic. It was all punching the
Mm.
Play-Doh and stomping on cups and throwing bean bags, and it was not gonna be worksheets at all. So it's really important to tap into how your child learns. It's how they're wired. They're not choosing this. This is how they're wired, and when you tap into that, it's magical because they will engage with you.
Yeah, so with that being said, what do you find are the different learning styles and how do you figure out how what your child enjoys um, to be able to choose different games or
Yeah.
to find the worksheet that they might like?
Exactly. That's a fantastic question. So hit the ground running. Of course, I have lots of experience, but I do a meet and greet with kids personally. So if any tutors or teachers out there, so that I can just get to know their personalities and I can see what they've shared with me. One little boy, he just played with his car the whole time. I'm like, okay, we've got an active little guy here. Little girl showed me all her crafts. Another one, shows me these Lego things that he built. So I get to know them just by seeing what their interests are and what they like to do. And then there can be a little trial and error, but pretty much you've got some kids who like kinesthetic. Their body likes to be in motion. So you want to
Mhm.
get some active games where they can use their hands, use their feet, move their bodies. Then you have people who love music. If you put something to a song, they're going to love it. And by the way, I make up songs all the time. So we're
Mhm.
we're talking on a podcast. We're having lots of fun. Talking on
Yeah,
a podcast now. Yeah, that's it. No, and it doesn't matter. It doesn't have to rhyme. It doesn't have to anything. You just get their attention. What? She's singing
right.
to me. What's happening? um, I do, but some kids, I've taught how to learn their name. I teach different grammar parts of speech through song. I still remember Conjunction Junction. What's your
Right.
function from
Yeah,
when
I
I
loved
was in
that
elementary
song.
school? Right? Full House Rock. So,
Yeah.
if you know that your child is musical, look up whatever you're trying to teach on YouTube, and you can find good resources out there. That's what I do.
Yeah.
Um, some kids learn visually, and you need to have those worksheets, or you need to have things that they can see. Um, they can't just hear it; they need to actually see it. I'm kind of that way. If you tell me your name, I'm not going to remember it, but if you spell it and show it to me, then I'll process it.
Mhm.
Um, and others need to hear it. My late husband was he loved audiobooks, and I couldn't focus at all with it. I needed a book in front of me. Um, and now I've actually flipped the script. I need
Right.
auditory. So
Yes.
these can be adaptable too. But those are some of the main ways that I found that kids, think about our senses, right? Like, do they need to see? Do they need to hear? Do they need to touch? Do they need to move their bodies and feel? Also, sensory things. Some kids really love sensory items. So, Play Doh, shaving cream, squishy balls, things like that. You can make games out of all kinds of things, different dice and things. So,
Yeah, but I
it
love that.
is.
So you sort of get to know the student, see what they naturally play with. Like I was saying, my child really loves plushies, so I'm going to incorporate his plushies with
Yep,
whatever we're going to play with, right?
absolutely. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
That's an awesome tip right there.
Yep.
Do you have any other like tips or resources that parents or people could use?
One of my favorite resources is Teachers Pay Teachers. It's a website that teachers have created all kinds of um, digital downloads. But if I need a game, I'll often put in, such and such game. You can filter to check what's free content there, and a lot of content is free, so that's kind of a nice resource. You've got people who are who are skilled that are offering their resources for free. They also, if you like them, you can follow their page page and find some really good, of course, they're going to go more in depth with their paid content too. So that's one of my favorite places to go. Lots of games like getting cards to play memory. That's a good one for everything.
Yeah.
But doing vocabulary. I have a student who's learning vocabulary. So we put the word on one and we put the definition on the other, put them upside down and play memory, trying to find the match. And you can do that with all kinds of different concepts. But sometimes you'll find nice pictured games like that on TPT. And
Yeah,
also, I would say, oh, sorry.
I think I purchased like a Santa Claus escape room one time for my like 5th graders to do. That was super fun.
Super fun, so great, absolutely. I was gonna say too that, I, um, do not think that you have to go out and spend a lot of money to play games. A lot of my supplies are index cards, Post-it notes, Dixie cups, Play-Doh, things that you might already have on hand. There are a couple things. I did a dollar store. Check my Instagram, but we can link it. I did a dollar store finds. There's lots at the dollar store. There's these dice that have little whiteboard, so they're
Oh,
what's the
yeah.
word I want? Like you can write whatever
Erase
you
them
want on
and
your
write whatever you want on them. Yeah.
exactly. And so I use that for all kinds of different things uh, beyond what normal dice have. Like sometimes I'll drop characters on that and we'll roll, and then they have to read in the voice of the picture that's on there. Read like a lion, read like a mouse, read like you're underwater. So I can draw things on these dice and roll it, and they can play through that. So
Yeah.
they're really great and adaptable.
Yeah. That's really, really cool. Um, do you find that anyone has concerns about using play and its effectiveness? Has there anybody that's approached you and like, I don't know about play. I don't know that my child's going to learn all of the skills they really need through play. How do you address that?
So that's something that I hear out in the objection world. I haven't encountered it personally, but I do address that because all of the things that I do in literacy, so it from letter knowledge and sounds to um, fluency, comprehension, grammar, vocabulary, even writing playfully and adding in learning grammar and being able to add in playful words, and even Mad Libs is a fun way to practice.
Mhm.
It's play doesn't always have to be like a board game. It could be creative play. So sometimes I have kids do creative book reports and presentations and posters and things like that. So um, I have seen kids gain confidence and competence in all areas across the board. And there's no question in my mind that they are skilled and practiced and able to perform all of these tasks through play and just creative outlets and activities.
Yeah. I like what you had said at the very beginning, to focus in on the aspect of starting from where they are. And that's where they're going to build their most confidence and grow the most is because you're meeting them where they are in that moment. And
Thank
they
you for
can't
bringing
always
that
get
up.
that in a typical school setting.
Exactly. So that is one thing that I really encourage my parents. My students are in traditional school, the parents who I tutor for, and I've worked really closely with the parents. They are so grateful for this piece of just looking at where their child has come from. Because, I have a fourth grader who didn't know how to read at all this year. And now he's reading CVC words and magic E words, and he's actually reading little passages. This is like a hallelujah, amen. Let's celebrate, let's party moment. But if you look at his report card, it's going to be a one, right? It's going to be like the
Yeah.
lowest thing because you're being compared to standards. You're being compared to
Yes.
forms, right? And that is just devastating for kids. So I love getting outside of that and saying, look how far your child has come and where we're headed and whatnot. That is a really important place to stay in your lane and just really center in on the advances your child has made at their pace and in their way and in their style, because every child deserves to be honored and celebrated for how far they've come,
Hmm.
and honestly, just for who they are. I don't I'm feeling more and more convicted that we shouldn't have children feeling judged by what they know.
Right.
I mean, kind of absurd, right? It's like
It
they
is.
know what they know because of their life circumstances and the way that their brain works and the way that they've been
Hmm.
taught and all of these different factors that should not affect who they are. And so often we put an emphasis on grades and what you know and how far you come and how you compare. And I would just love to like whew, dissipate that and just celebrate who they are
Yeah.
and
Do
each
you talk to
milestone that they.
parents about like learning disabilities? And I'm assuming that this child probably has had a learning disability, which is why they hadn't
Yeah.
progressed as quickly. How do you address parents and them coming to you and be like, well, my child has a learning disability. Is this gonna, how is this gonna be more effective than what we've already been trying?
Yeah, absolutely. I went earlier last year to one of my colleagues who's been in special ed for over 20 years, and I asked her the same thing. It is what I wasn't a special ed teacher. I was a regular school classroom
Mm.
teacher, and yet I'm working more and more with students who are struggling and do qualify for special ed, um, and so I asked her, what else can I do? And she basically said, what you're doing is what they need. And we don't have any magic tricks over here in special ed, but doing all of these things is exactly what they need. They need you to stay with them right at where they're at. They need you to play. Need you to make it engaging. They need you to celebrate each step of the way. And uh, this particular student I'm thinking about right now, the joy in his eyes, the brightness, the his drive to learn, it's just remarkable. His teacher and I are actually good friends. We were colleagues before I worked at her school, and we're both just beaming with pride at how much he's grown, but also how happy he is, how centered. It's
Right. Because he's finally
love.
seeing this success in himself and seeing like, I am capable of this. I can do this. They just need a different direction, a different way. And to me, play is definitely that avenue for excelling, because nobody wants to just sit there and be lectured to. I think, I was going to ask you about your age range. I know you had mentioned, typically up to 12. What do you
Yes.
think about play even with older kids? Do you think that it could still be adapted to older children as well?
Absolutely, absolutely, absolutely. Yes. It is so fun to play all the way through. So I think back to my own teaching credential program, and I had some teachers that were so creative with us, and it made the learning process so much fun. So yes, you can absolutely bring play all throughout, and I hope you do. It makes me so sad to see how stark the junior high and high school classrooms look sometimes. It's like, oh, would you want to learn in this environment? But I'm thinking of like Jeopardy games and like trivia games and even some of the games I played, Zonk. I mean, you can do this with anybody. You can practice anything, and that's
Mhm.
it's all adaptable. It's all versatile, and it is so essential. Kids, that they're still kids, and
Right.
I'm still a kid. I still want to learn through play. I want you to make it engaging for me, right? I
Yes.
If you start drone on and on to me, I'm gonna be like, oh, like, no thanks.
Exactly. I mean, I'm the same way. And as a teacher and a course creator and trying to do professional development for teachers as well, I want to teach in the way that is playful. And so I created this course. It's the trauma informed classroom. And in teaching that, I created expressive arts related to it. So even in the first lesson, I have pictures that they print out, and every picture is a symbol of a topic that I'm talking about, and they create a collage as I'm talking and discussing. That's why they're doing something hands-on. They're making these connections related to discussing trauma and understanding trauma through a collage. I did
Yeah.
one where they play in sand and they create safe spaces in sand, things like that. I just think play can be for anyone. And
Absolutely
it's
can, and
just,
I love it.
and I just think that's one thing that's so incredible with what you're doing, because I haven't seen very many, homeschool programs out there that are specifically related to figuring out how to play with children and teaching parents. So I just I think you're amazing.
Oh, thank
And I'm
you.
so proud of what you're doing.
Oh, thank you so much. I love it, and I just there was something you just said that I think you tapped into, that you love to play, right? You love to teach through play, and this is the reciprocity. When we teach through play, it's enjoyable for us. It
Yes.
uplifts our own lives, so we're
Yeah.
not we're not going through the drudgery of like, oh, I have to read this, and it's so boring and dull and like mind numbing. It's actually really fun to play. I mean, I, I don't work. I just play. I get to play with kids, and it is
Yeah.
such a joyful life. So that is one of my whys. Why I want to put this forward is because I want the whole family to really enjoy each other. It's so fun.
Yes. Absolutely. Well, do you have any other advice or messages that you want to leave our listeners with?
Mm. I just want to honor their work. I think it's so brave and courageous to homeschool, and I I wish I could go back and do it myself. I When my son was young, I thought I'm a teacher and I will never homeschool, but knowing what I know now, I wish that I had, and I just am excited for your listeners as they go through this journey. I have a dear friend who I'm walking through the steps of learning to play, and she's getting out there and finding more resources, and she's just on fire, and her creativity is ignited, and I know it's benefiting both her and her son and their relationship. It will definitely bring you closer to be not having to fight and argue and have tension
Mhm.
over school time, but to be like, what are we going to play today? What do you want to do? Um, and
Yeah.
as you build up your treasury of games, it becomes so easy. I just kind of flip through and go, what game have I not done for a while? The, I'm still working on this content, but I can just grab a game and like, oh, we haven't done this one for a while, and I'll throw the content on there. So it can be so simple, does not take long to prep. It's affordable and inexpensive and free. So I love that
Right.
aspect too. I know homeschoolers, you're getting by on one income and whatnot.
Right.
So
Exactly. Well, I think that's amazing. Where can our listeners find you if they want to find out more about what you do?
thank you. My website is sparkjoywithamy.com. And I'm also on Instagram as sparkjoywithamy. And yeah, those are the two places. I would love to have more people follow along. I have some freebies that I'm giving away. I have a tutorial and some free games. And I'm creating a course right now for kindergarten readiness that is going to be coming out in a workshop coming up. So I'm putting together an A to Z guide of different things that you can play for all the different letters. And I'm
That sounds
excited
like
to do that.
fun.
Yeah, it's really fun. I led a course live for 2 years with all these centers and all the different learning modalities. And by the way, thank you for reminding me. Art is, of course, another big way that kids learn
Yes. Yeah.
through. So, yeah,
Absolutely. Well, I'll make sure I link those in the description. But thank you so much for joining me.
such
It's
a
been a pleasure.
thank you, and thanks to your audience. Much love.